Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's poppin', Ricardo?
What's going on?
I feel like I say this every episode, but do I sound like I'm like sick or something?
A little bit today.
Yeah.
Usually no, but today a little bit. Are you dying?
I can't tell if I'm under the weather or
COVID?
not. I don't feel good.
COVID.
That's for sure. Yeah, COVID. So anyway, it is the middle of the offseason. I think mini camps for a lot of teams have started up. So we're getting fake camp hype, pre-camp hype. And I'm probably the most lit about it being almost July. Because in July, training camp starts. And that's when real camp hype kicks into high gear. Can't tell if I love it or hate it, the camp hype. Haven't decided.
I think I like it, but
I like listening to people get excited about players.
I like the fluff of it.
But I
Does
also,
that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also hate it because I feel like people just get overamped about pictures of jacked men. We talked about this before. AJ Dillon RB1 for some reason because of his thighs.
His thighs, yeah, the thigh gang.
Too big. But anyway, we're going to talk about wide receiver sleepers on this episode. And we have coming up, by the way, our ranking show, our top 12. So we got to get cruising on our rankings.
Oh, flip.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to talk about some sleepers, some guys you can get between rounds 10 to 15 in drafts. We're basing the ADP on sleeper ADP. So just keep track. They updated it recently, which is good.
That is good. Good to know. They update quite often, actually, so it is nice.
Yeah. Not in the first 4 months of the year, though.
Yeah, but recently
we sit here and struggle for ADP. But anyway, before we jump into our wide receiver sleepers, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also like us on Facebook. Just search us and you'll find us eventually. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, click the bell for notifications. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the show. We're trying to get to 300 before, I think, let's say August.
Yeah.
August.
We can do that.
And then be sure to like and comment down below. We also like to talk about the draft guide, the 2021 draft guide. Pre-orders are live on our website. It is $9.99. You get dynasty and redraft rankings, breakouts, bust sleepers, player projections, much more. You can either buy it now or be lame and lose your fantasy league.
Don't be lame. Buy the draft guide.
It launches on July 9th, which at then we'll probably run promotions, so you might still be able to get it at $9.99. We'll see what happens. But
yeah,
the price does go up to $14.99 on July 9th. So get it now at $9.99 while you have the shot.
Get it now.
Get it now. So let's talk about some wide receiver sleepers. I kind of missed the days when we had a drop for everything. You remember that? An audio drop? It was like...
That was
boom.
Nice. That was cool.
It was also very loud.
It was loud, but it was worth it because it was cool.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some wide receiver sleepers, as I said earlier. Number one, we have a guy who has been getting what we were just talking about, a lot of camp hype.
Yeah.
I've bought into it. In general. Is Leviska Chanult. His sleeper ADP is 111 right now. So if you're in a 12-team league, you're probably nailing the guy down in like the 10th round is what I want to say. 10th or 11th. Would you say that's right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, 10th or 11th round is where you would get him. 10-team, you're getting him 11th, 12th. So 11th, 12th, I should say. But Leviska, I think we've talked about him and Chark and how Chark is probably... he's been getting a lot of camp hype too, but he's probably the favorite option among a lot of people, but he costs more. He's like a 7th round pick.
Yep. Completely different ADP.
And Chanult is, I would say, the bona fide number 2 receiver. Now, they also have Marvin Jones, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I don't know where he fits into the roster, but Chanult is like a gadget player. He can play running back. He can play wide receiver. I mean, I don't think you can play tight end. That's probably not fair, but
I mean, who knows?
But he's going to be used in many different facets of the game.
Yep, which is a player that Urban Meyer loves.
Right,
he loves the gadget.
That's why he got himself some
Travis Etienne.
Ugh. So I did want to say, I'm going to look this up. Give your thoughts on not Travis Etienne, but Leviska Chanult. I did want to look up some of the things that they've been saying about Leviska in camp.
Yeah.
Or not camp, but mini camp OTAs.
I mean, we both love Leviska. We've bought into the hype train on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a really good rookie season last year. And people forget, like we kind of mentioned, he's a gadget player. He had 18 carries for 91 yards. Very good. He's going into his second year with an upgrade at quarterback and a lot of available targets now. Granted, Marvin Jones will get some. I think Travis Etienne will get some. But they're actually second in the NFL in vacated targets.
Really?
Yep. With 240. I don't know how. I think Keelan Cole and maybe another receiver. But they have a lot of targets to go around. I think Leviska is going to get an upgrade. But again, as a rookie, he had a good year. I think he in 12 games started. He played in 14, but 2 of them he didn't start. And I don't think he was used really at all. So pretty much in 12 games, he had 79 targets for 56 catches, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good for a rookie. I mean, you get more targets, you get a better quarterback, you probably get used more.
Yeah.
And all the camp hype is saying that he looks legit. So
yeah,
I'm all in on Leviska, especially at that ADP where you really can't get burned.
I agree. Hold on one second. Oh, I'm sneezing.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
So I just wanted to note too, the last, what is...
Maybe you do have COVID.
I might. Is sneezing a part of that? Maybe. I can still taste things. I keep checking.
Let me give you a hot take and see if you can taste.
You're recording with me right now. Oh, and you're going to be like COVID filled. Anyway, That's good.
Great.
I'm good. I think it's allergies, to be honest with you. But anyway, weeks 14 through 17 were kind of like the heavy periods of where he was actually producing a lot and getting targeted a lot. Over that stretch of time, I don't know why it went away, but he had 132 targets, 88 catches. So his catch rate needs to probably go up a little bit. And then he had 832 yards and paced out 12 touchdowns, which is pretty good. I was surprised, too, that he had 79 targets last year. And like you said, he had the 18 rushing attempts. Now, as far as camp hype is concerned, recently, I don't know what 1010 XLs, Hayes Carl Lyon.
That sounds like a radio station.
Whatever. It sounds like a beat reporter.
Or some weird Xbox name.
Yes. That's fair. But Jacksonville coaches are buzzing over Leviska Chanult. He said in the latest, he or her, I don't really know, but anyway, is the latest Jaguars beat reporter to transmit Leviska hype to the masses. Sports Illustrated's John Shipley this week said Chanult staked a claim as the Jaguars' best skill player during OTAs. Oof. He has been that impressive. The second-year receiver looked explosive and dynamic as a route runner during Jacksonville's practices, making impressive contested catches, Shipley said. So I mean, he's getting all the hype in the world around here.
Yeah. You think he plays like the Robert Woods role kind of on the Rams, where Woods had last year 24 carries, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I would say
he also had 129 targets.
The most just complete side note, the most searched guy on Player Profiler right now is some guy named Stevie Scott. I feel like I feel like once a week we should go on here and just do a whole show about one player.
That would be one guy.
Crazy. Yeah. But anyway, what did you say before that? Because I just totally blanked out.
I was saying, do you think he could be like the Robert Woods of the Jaguars, where Woods had 24 carries for like 120 something yards and 2 touchdowns? And you think the Jaguars could use him like that? Like he gets like 25, 30 carries, gets 150 yards rushing, and a touchdown
I think he could,
and then also gets like 125 targets.
The thing that makes me a little more nervous about the upside that he has potentially with rushing is that he came in as a running back. Is that right? Running back / wide receiver.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver in college, but they used him a lot, like in the backfield as well.
Yeah. So the concern I have is that you drafted a player to do that, essentially, which is Travis Etienne. So I think he's going to get a lot of... like, he might end up just playing the running back position, but I think Etienne's going to come in and play in the slot a lot, which is where I would probably peg. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but probably where I peg Chanult's role.
Okay.
He might play the outside. I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah, I feel like ETN is going to take a lot of the rushing work that he would see, him and James Robinson, because I don't think those rushing attempts came on end arounds either. I think they were purely on like just him getting in the backfield and getting rushes. So I
with
mean,
Urban Meyer,
they might use him similar to how San Francisco uses like I don't want to say Debo, maybe it's
Debo.
Yeah, and he gets like 5 to 10 rushes a year. But it, and it gives you a good base floor because it might get you 50, 60 extra fantasy, 50, 60 extra yards, which is 5 to 6 fantasy points. And then a couple of rushing touchdowns. I mean, that could, like you said, Bob Woods. That's probably a fair estimation. I'm just concerned that like people might think that 18, 19 carries that he had last year are going to, balloon into like 30, 40, 50
No, I
carries.
don't see him getting like that many, but 25.
That's fair. But I'm kind of surprised to see that he had 79 targets last year. That's a lot for what I saw from him. Like he was, wide receiver 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Leviska is a perfect sleeper option because I don't know that he's gonna like bust onto the scene. Like DJ Chark, I could definitely see having a breakout season. I don't know that Leviska's gonna have a breakout top 5, top 8 wide receiver season.
He's going to be really solid, though.
Yeah, he's going to be really good. And I think he can improve on in PPR. He's wide receiver 45 last year. I think he can improve upon that and get somewhere between wide receiver 16 and wide receiver 24, which on your fantasy teams in your flex spots is perfect, especially when Rick talks about those vacated targets being available. It helps. The one thing I did want to say, I'm trying to find the tab there, but Leviska, his best comparable on Player Profiler is AJ Brown, my guy. So, and he's 6'1", 227. I mean, he fits all the bills. So
he does.
I just want to say, I'm looking for his fantasy points per target, which is 1.992. So that's the guy gets over 120 targets. He could see 240 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's definitely a sleeper, especially if you can nail the guy in like the 10th round, 11th round.
Yeah, I think that's the best.
Now, the next guy is Jerry Judy, sleeper ADP 97. Tell me your thoughts, Rick.
You know my feelings on Jerry Judy.
I know you love him, but
I do love him.
We'll unpack this in a second.
There are some questions I've been having about him recently.
Yeah, the same questions I've been having for a while.
I don't know if they're quite the same.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, they might be.
Are they questions like, is he really the wide receiver 1 overall
on his team? Yeah, because I think Cortland Sutton might be. Especially I think there's a report that came out of Denver the other day where it was like, it might not be here.
Okay.
Well, Judy's favorite, I guess Teddy Bridgewater's favorite target, but I saw another report that was like Cortland Sutton is the clear number 1 guy.
Yeah.
In the offense still, so that is a little concerning. But I really believe in the talent. I think the player is very good. I think he had some big drops last year, and it's something that is a concern. But it's also kind of been blown out of proportion too, because he technically had the same amount of drops as CeeDee Lamb last year, and everybody loves CeeDee Lamb. Now I get it. Yeah. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be better fantasy wise than Jerry Judy, and probably better receiver as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Jerry Judy still had a very good rookie season. He still is a very, very good player. And they're going to be better at quarterback this year.
Yeah.
Because the only way Drew Lock plays this year is if he beats out Teddy Bridgewater, and he's going to have a short leash. So the only way he's the quarterback is if he puts up better numbers and he plays better.
Yeah.
If not, they go to Teddy Bridgewater. And I think there's a very good chance that they're going to trade for a quarterback, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, whether that's Deshaun Watson. And it's not something that I'm like putting all my hopes in and dreams into, because it obviously very well couldn't happen. But I think Denver is probably the number 1 spot for a quarterback needy team,
like
right
Rodgers
now.
or
Rodgers
Watson.
On Rodgers' lists originally. I think Schefter reported it was like Vegas, Denver.
Oh, we don't want to go to the Raiders.
It was an AFC. Well, it had to be AFC, so it was like Vegas.
This team is
Denver,
literally, and I feel like they've been one quarterback away.
If the Denver Broncos add Aaron Rodgers, they are scary on offense. I mean, they could.
I'd love to
that's
see
probably better than Green Bay.
Broncos, because I'm a Rodgers guy. But Broncos
Chiefs,
in the
yeah.
AFC
Oh, that'd be
Championship.
awesome.
That would be awesome. I think you're not wrong to tie it, but when you're talking about the value of Jerry Judy being like a 9th, 10th round pick, right? It's a little bit higher than some of these sleepers. We threw him in there as like because we like Jerry Judy, and I don't think he's going to have a smashing breakout season. Like CeeDee Lamb could legitimately end up being like a top 10, top 8 wide, like Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
Like he could be that, and I just don't think
if they add Aaron Rodgers or even Deshaun Watson, I think the conversation
that changes. Yeah. So I think right now,
but right now, yes.
Right now, I feel like he is a great, like, even if it's just Teddy Bridgewater moving forward, because I don't think Drew Lock is getting that job. They did have 556. Now, can you tell me vacated targets for the Broncos? Is that a thing?
Yeah. It's
how many
probably
vacated?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Probably at the bottom of the league. That's a little bit, I guess.
Was it?
Where is it down?
You missed it. I was looking at it. And then you
they have 62 vacated targets, which is towards the bottom of the league.
Yeah. So, you had 556 pass attempts last year, which is not bad. That's not horrible. I mean, it's more than what Cam Newton will throw.
True.
But anyway, so I feel like for Jerry Judy, there is a possibility that in this offense he can excel and get over 120 targets. I mean, last year he had Tim Patrick have 79.
Yeah, I don't think Tim Patrick is going to be much of a factor.
No, I don't think Deshaun Hamilton.
The problem is Cortland Sutton.
Is he even on the team anymore?
I don't think so, actually. I think that's for the
that's kind of what I'm saying is like if this is very spread out, but I think it's spread out because the target share is spread out because there was no Cortland Sutton to take a major role in the offense. Now I think Jerry Judy and his catch rate was abysmal. It's not good.
Yeah, the catch rate is something that needs. But was it PFF that has that stat where it's like his catchable targets was like the worst in the league or something?
So right now his catchable target rate was 62.8%, 71 total targets.
Yeah, one of the worst in the league.
He had a 46% catch rate, but his true catch rate was 73.2. I mean, he was so bad. Not he, but they were so bad at getting him the ball that it literally dropped his
Jeff Driscoll.
His true catch rate to 73%. So yeah, he's not great. But anyway, he did get. I mean, he's extremely talented. This is one of those. The stats don't show it. Like 1.38 fantasy points per target. If that happens again and he gets 120 targets, he's not gonna be good. It's just.
And if Teddy Bridgewater is the starter, it seems like Jerry Judy is his guy. So
yeah, there was a report.
That was the report. From the Athletic.
Cosmider from The Athletic said Jerry Judy has been Teddy Bridgewater's most frequent in target in OTAs. We'll see if that carries on into camp and into the preseason and into the regular season. But yeah, I think he needs to improve his efficiency. But when you watch the film of Jerry Judy, last thing I'll say, when you watch the film of Jerry Judy, he's just ridiculous. Like he does things route running wise that is just absurd. Like that's why I think
he's a talented player.
Like I think Cortland Sutton is the number one wide receiver in the offense, but there's a chance that Jerry Judy might get and this is a hot take, but might out target him just because he's able to get open.
Yeah.
So it's like I think Jerry Judy's honestly a better route runner than Cortland Sutton. But
and I mean I think Sutton, and that's not no diss to Sutton. I just think Judy is
he's extremely
elite outrunner already.
But I think when you're talking about drafting a guy in the 10th round, you definitely have an opportunity there to snag a sleeper, a guy who could end up being like a mid to high end wide receiver 2 and help your team most likely in your flex or wide receiver 2 slot. So and what is he going to be, your 4th bench player?
Yeah.
At that point, unless you have 10 starters that are all not kickers or defense.
Right.
But that would be 4 flexes.
Yeah, so that's,
Anyway. So let's talk about the next guy, unless you have anything else.
No, we can keep going.
Antonio Brown, his sleeper ADP is 124. Now, Rick was like, why? Fair question, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what I feel, and then you can go on what you feel on Antonio Brown. Now, this is a gross one because Antonio Brown, he's had his ups, and usually when you think about sleepers, I feel like everyone puts okay, it needs to be young guys, and for me, I'm like, sleepers don't have to be young guys; they can be faded away old guys who actually still got a little bit left. Now, Antonio Brown last year, Now, Rick brings up a very valid point before we were on the show where he said Tom Brady's 44 years old.
Yeah. Which I didn't care about last year.
Yeah, but how is he going to be able
year 2 in Tampa, it's like, okay.
So going back to...
At what point?
I'm just going to do from when he got signed to when he ended the season in week 17.
Yeah.
He had 124 targets, paced out, 90 receptions, 966 yards, 8 touchdowns. Now, that puts him in the conversation of, I want to say, in a half PPR league, probably somewhere around 200 fantasy points, which is like a wide receiver too. And that is pacing out all of the games that he played before he even got into the groove. He wasn't really getting targeted until they really started like playing him, where he had 149 targets, 107 receptions, 1,419 yards, 21 touchdowns. That's the Antonio Brown that used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
And so that stretch of time is what is really intriguing to me. Not that I think he can do it for a full season, but I think Brady's favorite option outside of Gronk to go to in times where he needs them, it showed in the Super Bowl. Gronk had 2 touchdowns. Brown had a touchdown. He went to the guys that he loves. Not that he doesn't love Mike Evans, not that he doesn't love Chris Godwin, but those guys were getting targeted.
AB was kind of non-existent in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, until the Super Bowl, because he had 6 catches or
in the Super Bowl he was good, but those first first 3 games.
But I do think like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are number 1, number 2 in that offense. But I think Antonio Brown does have a role there. Now I don't think it's 149 targets and 107 catches, but if that happens, I mean you get gold,
right?
But the only reason why for me he's on this list, like, because if he was a 9th round pick, dude, I would be like, see you later. You guys are buying old people.
Yeah,
but he's picked 124. So it's like you can get him in the 12th, 11th, 12th, maybe even the 13th round if people are really fading him.
Yeah.
And he would be a decent option for your team. And I'm talking about redraft, because in Dynasty, if you're drafting this guy, you probably will lose.
That's why I don't have a problem with it, because it is late. And it's like, a flyer, and he's someone who was good last year when he was there.
Yeah.
If an injury happens to anybody, God forbid, but like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, like he instantly flies up boards as well. It's just, my problem is it's Mike Evans is gonna still get his targets. Chris Godwin,
right?
I think OJ Howard is gonna be more involved. Obviously, they still have Fournette. They added Gio Bernard. Gronk is still there. Cameron Brate, like Ronald Jones. They have a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa. And AB was good last year, but if I had to bet between him, Evans, and Godwin, like who's going to take the big hit, it would definitely be AB, because it's the guy they're less invested in, and his age. I think he's 33.
Yeah, something like that.
Which for a receiver, that's kind of really old. Mm-hmm. I mean, Julio is like 31, right? 32.
Yeah. He's 32 in 339 days. Okay. So by the time the season gets here, he'll be 33.
He will be 33 when the season starts. So how much does he really have left in the tank? But I do think it is a good flyer at that point in the draft. Mm-hmm. And you're still betting on the talent.
Yeah, and if you don't want to buy players based on other guys getting injured, like you never want to do that.
No.
But I think he has like a low end wide receiver 2 role with Tampa, and I think that's what he'll end up being. Like if you just look at some of these games, like some weeks he had 3 targets and it was just like god awful, and then there were other weeks where he went bonkers and had 15 targets, and Brady was just like throwing it to him the whole time. So like it just varies, and that's being a receiver in a Tom Brady offense. But I think there are times when he's going to be valuable to you, and I think as a bench asset that you can get in the 12th round it's pretty good. Like I'm not
I won't disagree with that.
So, and I think it's a sleeper too, because I think what he's going to end up, I don't even know, I don't want to count how many receivers that is, but he's probably like wide receiver 50 off the board, or somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's in that range.
Let me pull up really quick. I want to move on to the next couple guys, but I want to check the rankings just to see where they have AB. So right now,
I just had this list too.
Yeah. Antonio Brown right now,
I'm going to guess like 50-ish.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 50.
Yep.
According to the rankings
50 exact
on Fantasy Pros, nailed it. So yeah, I mean that to me is a value, and if you can get him in the 12th round, I would do it. I mean, it's not exciting, and there's a lot of receivers there, and he could end up like, these are sleepers, so he could end up not getting targeted at all.
Yeah.
like 3 times a game. But when you're in the 12th round, what are your? This is why I ask. What are your other options? If you're not picking a tight end or a quarterback, who are you drafting? Ramondre Stevenson?
Right.
It's ridiculous. So anyway, the next guy we have Michael Pittman, wide receiver. I don't know what he is off the board, but he's ADPing at 131. You have T.Y. Hilton coming back. You have Carson Wentz coming into the offense. It looks like a situation where Michael Pittman can improve, and he was getting last year. Now, granted, this was in the absence of T.Y. Hilton, but Michael Pittman was getting a lot of opportunities in that offense. Wow, I typed in a name and I got a completely different player.
Yeah, it's Michael Pittman, the running back, who
looks
like was drafted in is that 1960?
Yeah, that looks like
1998.
1998. Okay. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I think you might have the wrong player there.
I might. Can you give me your thoughts while I try to find
the actual
so player?
Michael Pittman, I like him a lot. I haven't been able to get any shares of him, unfortunately. But I think he's a good sleeper because he's a nice young receiver, and I think Phillip Rivers last year, first of all, he didn't throw the ball a lot. He had 543 pass attempts.
Yeah.
But he also threw the ball in a lot of short yardage. I think like Naheem Hines had 76 targets. I don't think he gets that again with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to want to throw the ball down the field more, which is good things for Michael Pittman Jr. He had 61 targets in 13 games, and he was very good in the playoff game where they lost to the Bills. So that was kind of like a breakout game for him.
Yeah.
He has a chance to honestly be the number 1 guy with the Colts. And if not the number 1, at least the clear number 2. And if Carson Wentz is just anything of what he was before last year, Michael Pittman is going to be probably the steal of the draft.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
100%.
And I think, too, that you also have to reference, too, he was getting targeted a lot. If you take out the last game of the season where he got targeted twice in a game against Jacksonville where they blew him out, he had almost 100 targets, 61 on the season before he ended up getting hurt for 3 weeks. So it's like, but the big thing for him is that he didn't score touchdowns, and I think the offense in and of itself was not good. Indianapolis's offense, like most of it, like you said, was just dumping it off and handing it off.
Yeah.
And so with Carson Wentz coming in, they might ease him into it a little bit, but I feel
they will
like
take shots. They will take a lot more shots than they did.
I kind of want to look at how many times they.
In the playoff game, Michael Pittman, he only had 5 catches for 90 yards, but he had 10 targets, and he also had an 11-yard carry.
So they only threw it 550 times, and they had their highest targeted receiver was T.Y. Hilton in 15 games, and he was the 3rd most targeted receiver on the team behind Zach Pascal.
He's
going to be the number 2 wide receiver on the team, and I actually think he's probably going to jump T.Y. Hilton. I think
Trey Burton is gone, who took like 50 targets as well last year.
Yeah, so I think this is definitely a guy that you can snag in the later rounds of drafts. And 6'4", 223. Yikes. He's pretty big.
Yeah, but he's 6'4" and runs a 4.5.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
So anyway, he's definitely a guy that I'm targeting in the late rounds of fantasy drafts because there is a lot of upside there.
Yes.
It's not like he's in an offense
Massive
that I think is going to be complete trash.
Yeah.
They have a good offensive line.
At worst,
they have a good running game, and they have a good play caller in Frank Reich. And I just want to go back and say that Carson Wentz, MVP year, well, not almost MVP year. Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it was kind of. He was going to win MVP.
Yeah, he was going to win MVP if he stayed on the field. So
he had 3 awful games in the season.
If Carson Wentz can recapture that magic and he passes it 575, 600 times, and Michael Pittman gets anywhere over 110, 115 targets, I think he's definitely going to be like a mid-range wide receiver too, and
for sure
he can be a perfect steal late in drafts.
Yep.
Let's talk about this last guy, Russell Gage. I love this one. This is like stealing. Like, while everyone is drafting Kyle Pitts in the 10th, I'm not even going to say it, 9th round. It's 9th round right now.
That's better than what it was, the 5th round.
90, that's fair. But and while everyone's drafting freaking Kyle Pitts with pick 91, I'll be drafting Russell Gage with pick 176, which is like the 16th round.
Yeah.
It is like
pretty much undrafted.
stealing. If you look, and this guy, this is probably the guy I'm most excited about in the later rounds of drafts because I feel like
there's no way he's staying.
There's no way he stays where he is. He's probably going to end up being like a 10th or 11th round pick. And I think a lot of people look at Russell Gage and go, he blows. Like honestly, I mean, I have him in a dynasty. Why didn't I put him on the block? Did I trade him to you?
No, I own him in a lot of leagues. I'm glad I do.
But last year I looked at the early part of the season and the end of the season. So the early part of the season, he was pacing out at 128 targets. That was with everyone, Julio, everyone, like working and no one hurt. And that was
he had 109.
He had 109 on the season, and then you look at the last. I want to say the last. Oh my word! Hold on a second. This thing will. Let me reload the page because I screwed it up. So week 7. There we go.
7?
Week 14 through 17, he had 128 targets, 92 catches, 1,056 yards, 8 touchdowns.
On pace for that, yeah.
He was on pace for that. And he had 2 games where he had 10 targets total in each game.
So without Julio, he was a beast, essentially.
Yeah. And what's exciting about that is that there is no Julio.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have to be like, oh, is Julio going to get traded? No, he's traded. He's gone. So Russell Gage is going to get that target share. Somewhere around that target share of 125 catches, I would assume.
Unless targets, if he gets 125 catches.
Yeah, sorry, targets is what I meant to say. But if Kyle Pitts goes in there and he gets 125 targets in that offense, I'm going to be like stunned.
I mean, I won't be stunned.
Well, I'll be like, okay, this is it would shock me, to be honest with you. I would be shocked not because I don't believe in Kyle Pitts' talent, but because it takes guys like Kyle Pitts to adjust.
So Russell Gage had 110 targets last year. I think Hayden Hurst is not going to get 88 targets. I think Kyle Pitts is pretty much going to take all of those. Not all of them, but he'll take a good chunk.
Yeah.
But that still leaves 68 from Julio. And I think that'll be kind of split up between Ridley, Gage, and Pitts. And even if Pitts does have a great rookie season, gets all his targets, Russell Gage, at worst gets 110 targets. Like, that's good value anyway.
Yeah.
Ignoring the Julio thing. Now you add
he's
this
basically
Julio
going undrafted.
and you add this Julio news and you add his new situation, which is the wide receiver too.
Yeah.
On a team that throws the ball a lot. I mean, what are we doing here? Why is he going undrafted?
I know. It's ridiculous.
This is beyond a sleeper at this point. Russell Gage is beyond a sleeper.
Yeah. I feel like, and I don't know that, like, for me, I don't know that he's going to, because I don't think he's talented enough to.
Yeah, I don't ever see him being like wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1
or anything like that. But
I think he's definitely a player that can become like a wide receiver 2 in that offense and play like when Calvin Ridley was just getting started and had that like low end wide receiver 2 role.
Yeah,
I could see Russell Gage doing that in this.
He's
offense.
At least worth a shot in those bottom rounds.
Yeah, and if you're like these are guys like we've talked about, these are guys that are sleepers that could end up. Wow, I just closed that window. That could end up like leading your fantasy team to championships in the later half of the season because you drafted them at pick 176.
Right.
So, and I don't like Rick said, I do not believe that this guy's going to be available.
No, he's going to fly up boards.
At 176, yeah. He's going to fly up boards. He's going to end up being like I would say somewhere between round 10 and 12.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
probably, yeah. I'm thinking like 10th.
Do you have any more thoughts on Russell Gage?
We're good.
Okay. They're your wide receiver sleepers. Leviska Chanult, Jerry Judy, Antonio Brown, Michael Pittman, a junior, and then a Russell Gage. Get any of these guys in your fantasy leagues. You'll be glad you did, excited you did.
Yes, sir.
So be sure to listen on Thursday. We got tight end sleepers.
Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.